Rain hammered against the rusted roof like 1,000 tiny fists fighting to get inside. Water dripped through the ceiling in 3 different places, splashing into old metal buckets scattered across the cracked floor. The lights flickered twice before the entire house went dark. Inside the tiny living room, Sofia gasped softly. Oh no, the power again. Across the room, Ethan stood frozen near the doorway, watching her carefully. This was the moment. Every woman before her had complained. Some had mocked him. Some had walked away. One had even laughed in his face. But Sofia did something completely unexpected. She reached for his hand in the darkness. It's okay, she whispered. We'll figure it out. Then she laughed softly. Honestly, this almost feels romantic. Ethan stared at her without speaking. Outside, thunder shook the entire neighborhood. Inside, the billionaire felt his chest tighten for the first time in years. Because the woman standing in front of him believed he was poor, and she was still smiling. But what Ethan didn't know was that the lie he created to test her love was about to risk the only real relationship he had ever had. Before this story continues, comment below and tell us honestly. Would you stay with someone if they suddenly lost everything? And if you enjoy emotional stories like this, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more powerful stories every week. 3 months earlier, Ethan Carter sat alone at the top floor of Carter Technologies, staring through the glass walls of his office at the city below. Luxury surrounded him. Italian furniture, a private bar, $1 million view, 3 phones buzzing nonstop. But none of it made him happy anymore. His assistant walked in carefully. Mr. Carter, your dinner reservation starts in 20 minutes. Ethan sighed. Cancel it. She's already there. Then send flowers. The assistant hesitated. She specifically asked to see you. Ethan leaned back in frustration. Of course she did. Another date. Another woman fascinated by his money before she even knew him. The assistant lowered her voice. Should I reschedule? No. Then what should I tell her? Ethan looked away. Tell her I'm busy making the money she loves so much. The assistant left quietly. Ethan rubbed his face slowly. At 32 years old, he was one of the youngest billionaires in the country. His company had exploded globally within 5 years, making him richer than he ever imagined possible. But wealth had poisoned his relationships. Women no longer looked at him like a person. They looked at him like an opportunity. His thoughts drifted toward his mother. He could still remember the tiny apartment they once lived in when he was a child. Rain used to leak through the roof back then too. His mother would place pots on the floor and smile like it was normal. One night, she had told him something he never forgot. The hardest thing for a rich man, she said gently, is knowing who truly loves him. At the time, he didn't understand. Now he understood too well. A sharp knock interrupted his thoughts. His best friend Marcus entered without waiting. You look miserable again. I'm working. Marcus laughed. No, you're hiding. Ethan ignored him. Marcus sat down across from him. You know what your problem is? I'm sure you're about to tell me. You keep dating women from parties, magazines, and social media. And you're shocked they care about money. Ethan smirked faintly. Good observation. I'm serious. You haven't met a real woman in years. There are no real women around billionaires. Marcus shook his head. That's exactly why you'll stay lonely. Ethan didn't answer. Because deep down, he feared Marcus was right. Later that evening, Ethan left the office wearing simple clothes instead of designer suits. Sometimes he liked disappearing into normal places where nobody recognized him. That night, he stopped at a small café during a heavy rainstorm. The café was nearly empty. Soft music played quietly while warm lights reflected against the windows. Then he saw her. A young woman behind the counter struggled to carry 3 cups while arguing playfully with an elderly customer. You cannot drink 4 coffees tonight, she said. The old man grinned. I survived 70 years. Let me enjoy life. You survived 70 years because somebody stopped you from bad decisions. The old man laughed loudly. Ethan found himself smiling. The woman noticed him standing there. Oh, sorry, she said quickly. Give me 1 second. She walked over with tired eyes, but a warm smile. What can I get you? Black coffee. You look like someone who had a terrible day. Ethan blinked. Most people treated him carefully, politely, strategically, but she sounded genuine. That obvious? A little. He smirked slightly. What makes you think it was terrible? You walked in during a storm looking emotionally exhausted. That specific? Yes. And what if I'm just dramatic? Then the coffee still helps. He laughed unexpectedly. For the first time that week, It felt natural. Name, she asked. Ethan. Sofia. Their fingers brushed briefly as she handed him the cup. Something about her felt different immediately. Not because she was the most beautiful woman he had ever seen, but because she looked at him normally. No fake excitement. No performance. No curiosity about money. Just warmth. Over the next few weeks, Ethan kept returning. At first, Sofia assumed he simply liked the coffee. But eventually, she realized he mostly came to talk to her. One evening, she sat across from him during her break. You know what's strange? What? You always ask questions about me, but I barely know anything about you. Maybe I'm mysterious. Maybe you're avoiding questions. He smiled. What do you want to know? What do you do? I work in tech. That sounds boring. It pays bills. She laughed. Fair enough. What about you? I work here, obviously. You like it? Not really. But it helps me take care of my grandmother. Something softened inside him. You live with her? Yeah. She raised me. That must be hard. It is. She smiled faintly. But she's worth it. Ethan watched her carefully. She spoke with honesty that felt rare. No exaggeration. No pretending. No hidden agenda. One night after the cafe closed, rain trapped them both outside under the tiny awning. Sofia groaned. I forgot my umbrella. I can drive you home. She hesitated. You sure? Unless you enjoy pneumonia. She laughed. Okay. Inside the car, she looked around curiously. This is nice. It's old. This is old. Compared to newer models. You're definitely one of those tech people. What does that mean? You people buy expensive things and call them average. He smiled quietly. During the drive, they talked for nearly an hour parked outside her apartment building. About childhood dreams. Fear. Family. Life. Ethan found himself opening up in ways he hadn't done for years. Before getting out, Sofia looked at him carefully. You know, you seem lonely. The words hit harder than he expected. Do I? Yes. He looked away. Maybe. From that night, everything changed. They started spending more time together. Simple things. Street food at midnight. Walking through crowded markets. Watching old movies on her tiny couch while her grandmother slept nearby. And every single moment made Ethan feel more human. One afternoon, Marcus visited Ethan's penthouse and nearly choked seeing him smile at his phone. You're texting her again? Ethan ignored him. Marcus stared suspiciously. Oh no. What? You actually like this girl? Ethan smirked. She's different. They all seem different in the beginning. This one is. Marcus sat down. Does she know who you are? No. Marcus frowned. You still haven't told her? She treats me normally. Because she thinks you're normal. That's the point. Marcus sighed. You can't hide forever. Ethan stared out the window. I know. But the truth terrified him. Because if Sofia changed after learning he was rich, it would destroy him. Weeks later, Ethan and Sofia sat eating cheap noodles from a roadside stand. Sofia laughed while trying to use chopsticks properly. This is embarrassing. You're losing a fight to noodles. They're slippery. You're dramatic. She narrowed her eyes. You know what? I'm starting to think you enjoy bullying me. Maybe a little. She laughed again. Then suddenly her expression softened. You know what I like about you? What? You never try to impress anyone. Ethan nearly felt guilty hearing it. If only she knew. His phone buzzed repeatedly on the table. Sofia glanced at it. You never answer calls. Work. You hate your job? Sometimes. You should quit. He laughed. Not that easy. Why not? People depend on me. She nodded slowly. Then don't quit. Just don't let work steal your happiness. The simplicity of her words stunned him. That night, Ethan couldn't sleep. Instead, he sat alone thinking about her. Thinking about trust. Thinking about fear. Then he remembered his ex-girlfriend Vanessa. The moment she discovered his net worth, everything changed. Suddenly, she wanted luxury trips. Expensive gifts. Business connections. And when Ethan refused to fund her brother's failing company, she cheated on him within weeks. After that relationship ended, Ethan stopped believing love could exist around money. Now Sofia was breaking through walls he spent years building. And that terrified him. A few days later, Marcus visited again. You look stressed. I'm thinking. That's dangerous. Ethan sighed. What if she changes? Marcus frowned. You still don't trust her. I want to. But I need to know. Marcus leaned forward. What are you planning? Ethan hesitated. Then quietly, he explained everything. The poor house. The fake lifestyle. The test. Marcus stared at him in disbelief. That's insane. I need certainty. No. You need therapy. I'm serious. So am I. If she finds out you manipulated her, this could blow up in your face. Ethan stood up. If she loves me without money, then I'll finally know it's real. Marcus shook his head slowly. Or you'll ruin the best thing that ever happened to you. But Ethan had already made up his mind. 2 days later, he rented a small, broken-down house in an old neighborhood across town. The place looked exhausted. Peeling paint, leaking pipes, cracked windows. Exactly what he wanted. Standing inside, Ethan felt strange memories returning from childhood. Poverty had a smell, a silence, a heaviness. For a moment, he questioned everything. Then Sofia called him. Hey, you sound nervous. He forced a laugh. Do I? Yes. Can I show you something tomorrow? Of course. The next evening, Sofia arrived outside the small house carrying a bag of pastries. She stopped for a second looking around. Ethan watched her carefully. This was it. This is where you live? She asked softly. Yeah. He waited. Expected disappointment, confusion, judgment. Instead, she smiled gently. It's quiet here. Ethan blinked. That's your reaction? What reaction were you expecting? Nothing. She looked at the house again. It needs love, though. Love. Nobody had ever used that word around his living spaces before. Inside the house, Sofia explored slowly. The kitchen is tiny. Sorry. Why are you apologizing? I just thought. That I'd judge you? He stayed silent. Sofia looked at him carefully. Ethan, I grew up struggling too. You don't have to be embarrassed around me. Her words made guilt twist inside him. That night they cooked together using cheap ingredients. Sofia laughed while dancing badly to music from her phone. At one point she pointed at the ceiling. You really need to fix that leak. I know. You'll catch a cold. You sound like my mother. That means I'm wise. He laughed harder than expected. As weeks passed, Sofia kept coming back. And every visit shocked him more. She never complained. Not once. Instead, she started helping quietly. She repaired curtains, cleaned rooms, brought groceries. One afternoon, Ethan entered the kitchen and froze seeing Sofia painting over cracked walls. What are you doing? She turned around smiling. This place looked depressed. You bought paint. It was cheap. You shouldn't spend money on this house. Why not? Because... He stopped himself. Because it wasn't real. Sofia walked closer. You know something? What? You always look surprised when I help you. He forced a smile. I'm not used to it. Her expression softened. That's sad. Another night. Heavy rain trapped them indoors. Water leaked everywhere. The roof groaned loudly during thunder. Ethan watched Sofia place bowls beneath the leaks while humming softly. Aren't you upset? He asked. About what? This place. She shrugged. It's just a house. You deserve better. She smiled gently. Maybe, but I care more about who I'm with. His chest tightened painfully. Later that night, Sofia thought Ethan was asleep, but he overheard her talking quietly on the phone in the kitchen. Her friend's voice echoed faintly. So you're seriously dating a poor guy? Sofia sounded annoyed immediately. Don't say it like that. I'm just saying life will be difficult. Life is already difficult. But don't you want stability? I want peace. And he gives you that. There was a pause. Then Sofia answered softly. He makes me feel safe. That matters more than money. Ethan sat silently in the darkness, unable to breathe properly. No woman had ever said something like that about him before. Not once. The next morning, Sofia woke up early and discovered Ethan sitting outside staring at the sunrise. You okay? Yeah. You look emotional. He laughed quietly. You notice everything. She sat beside him. My grandmother says pain leaves fingerprints on people. And what do mine say? That you've been disappointed a lot. He looked away quickly. Sofia touched his hand. You don't have to carry everything alone. That nearly broke him. For days afterward, Ethan struggled with guilt. The more genuine Sofia became, the worse his life felt. Then one afternoon, everything changed. Ethan received a call from his assistant while Sofia was nearby. Mr. Carter, the investors arrived early. He quickly muted the phone, but Sofia had heard enough. Mr. Carter? He froze. That's just work stuff. She narrowed her eyes slightly. You never told me your last name. Does it matter? Not usually. The tension lingered. That night, Ethan barely slept. He knew the lie couldn't continue much longer. Marcus called the next morning. So, did your ridiculous experiment work? Ethan rubbed his face. Yes. And she's incredible. Then tell her the truth before this gets worse. I'm scared. You should be. Ethan drove aimlessly for hours afterward. He thought revealing the truth would make him feel relieved. Instead, it terrified him, because now he actually had something to lose. Finally, he called Sofia. Can you meet me tonight? Of course. When she arrived, Ethan looked unusually nervous. You okay? She asked. I need to show you something. Without explanation, he drove her across the city, toward his real world. The massive iron gates opened slowly. Sofia frowned immediately. Where are we? Ethan stayed silent. Luxury cars lined the driveway. Fountains glowed beneath golden lights. Then the mansion appeared. Huge, beautiful, intimidating. Sofia stared speechless. The car stopped. What is this? Ethan swallowed hard. My house. Silence. Long, painful silence. Sofia turned toward him slowly. What? He forced himself to continue. I'm not poor. She laughed once in disbelief. What kind of joke is this? It's not a joke. Her face changed completely. No. Sofia. No. Pain filled her eyes. You lied to me? I can explain. You made me believe you lived in that house. I needed to know if your feelings were real. The hurt on her face deepened instantly. You tested me? It wasn't like that. Then what was it like? Ethan struggled for words. I've been used before. I didn't know who to trust. So you decided to manipulate me? I was scared. And what about me? She snapped. Did you think about how humiliating this feels? I never wanted to hurt you. But you did. Her voice cracked slightly. You watched me spend my money fixing that house. Guilt crushed him immediately. Sofia, you let me worry about you. I know. You let me believe you were struggling. I'm sorry. She stared at him with tears building slowly. You know what hurts the most? Ethan said nothing. I would have loved you anyway. Those words shattered him. Sofia opened the car door quickly. Wait. I need space. Sofia, please. You tested my love while I was giving you my trust. Then she walked away. Ethan sat frozen inside the car, feeling emptier than ever before. If you've made it this far into the story, take 1 second to like the video. It really helps the channel grow and lets us continue bringing emotional stories like this every week. And tell us in the comments, was Sofia right to leave? The following days felt unbearable. Ethan stopped going to meetings, ignored investors, ignored calls, ignored everyone. His mansion suddenly felt cold and meaningless again. One evening, Marcus arrived and found Ethan sitting alone in silence. You look terrible. I deserve it. Marcus sat nearby. She left. Ethan nodded slowly. What did you expect? I thought once she understood. Marcus interrupted him. You treated love like a business deal. Ethan rubbed his eyes. I know. You spent so much time protecting yourself that you forgot relationships require trust from both people. The truth hurt because it was real. Marcus stood up. What are you going to do? I don't know. Yes, you do. That night, Ethan drove to the old neighborhood again. The fake poor house sat quietly beneath dim streetlights. But something strange caught his attention. The flowers Sofia planted near the porch were blooming. Even after everything, she had left beauty behind. Ethan walked inside slowly. The walls she painted, the repaired curtains, the tiny details she added. Every corner of the house carried her kindness. And suddenly he understood something painful. Sofia never cared about the house. She cared about him. The next morning, Ethan visited the cafe. Sofia froze when she saw him. I'm working. I know. Then why are you here? To apologize. She looked away. Ethan. No. Please. Just listen. The cafe remained quiet as he continued. I spent years believing money ruined every relationship in my life. She stayed silent. And maybe I let that fear control me too much. Too much, she whispered bitterly. Yes. He swallowed hard. You were honest with me from the beginning. I should have given you the same respect. Sofia's eyes glistened slightly. You made me feel stupid. I know. I trusted you completely. I know. And the worst part is, her voice trembled. I actually loved that stupid little house because you were there. Ethan felt tears burning behind his eyes. I'm sorry. Sofia looked at him carefully. For the first time in years, Ethan continued quietly. I felt loved for who I really was. And instead of appreciating that, I became afraid. Neither spoke for several seconds. Then Sofia finally sighed. My grandmother always says wounded people sometimes hurt others without realizing it. Ethan looked down. She's right. But Ethan, love cannot survive constant suspicion. I understand now. Do you? Yes. She crossed her arms slowly. Then answer honestly. If I had discovered your money earlier, would you have ever fully trusted me? The question hit hard, because the truthful answer was no, and Sofia could see it on his face immediately. She nodded sadly. That's the real problem. Before Ethan could answer, an elderly voice interrupted. Sofia, dear, the tea is boiling over. Her grandmother emerged slowly from the back room. She looked at Ethan carefully. So this is the famous liar. Sofia nearly laughed despite herself. Grandma. What? I'm old, not blind. Ethan stood awkwardly. I'm very sorry. The old woman studied him. You love her? Yes. Then stop behaving like a frightened little boy. Sofia blinked. Grandma. I said what I said. Even Ethan laughed weakly. The old woman pointed at him. Money is useful, but character is priceless. Then she disappeared again toward the kitchen. Silence returned. Finally, Sofia looked at Ethan again. What happens now? I don't know. That's honest at least. He nodded. I just know I don't want to lose you. Sofia's expression softened slightly. You hurt me deeply. I know. And trust doesn't magically return overnight. I know. But, she paused, I also know people make mistakes when they're afraid. Hope flickered inside him carefully. Weeks passed slowly after that. Sofia didn't immediately forgive him completely, but she didn't shut him out either. And for the first time, Ethan stopped trying to control everything. He started showing up honestly. No masks. No fake stories. No tests. Just himself. One afternoon, he took Sofia back to the small neighborhood. She looked confused seeing construction crews everywhere. What's happening? Ethan smiled slightly. Come see. They walked through the streets together. Workers repaired broken homes, installed new roofs, painted buildings. Children laughed nearby while families watched in disbelief. Sofia stared at him. You bought the neighborhood? Part of it. Ethan, I kept thinking about something you said. What? Home isn't about money. She smiled faintly. So maybe people deserve both. Emotion filled her eyes. You're doing this for them? And for me. She looked around quietly. This is incredible. Ethan turned toward her carefully. That house changed me. The fake one. Yes. She laughed softly. That's ironic. I spent years running away from the version of myself that grew up poor. And now I realize that version of me understood love better than the billionaire did. Sofia stared at him for several seconds. Then finally, slowly, she stepped closer. You really are trying. I am. And no more tests. Never again. No more lies. No more lies. She smiled gently. Good. Ethan touched her hand carefully. I don't deserve another chance. Probably not. He laughed. But maybe, she continued softly. Love isn't always about deserving. At that moment, rain began falling lightly again. Both of them looked upward before laughing quietly together. Seriously? Sofia said. The universe likes dramatic timing. She smiled wider. Then suddenly she wrapped her arms around him. Ethan held her tightly as rain fell around them. And for the first time in years, he didn't feel afraid anymore. Months later, the neighborhood looked completely transformed. Families moved into renovated homes. Children played safely outside. New businesses opened. And in the center of it all stood the small house that started everything. Ethan kept it exactly the same. The leaking roof was fixed, but the memories remained untouched. One evening, Sofia sat beside him on the porch watching sunset colors stretch across the sky. You know, she said softly, I hated you for a little while. That's fair. I even told my grandmother I never wanted to see you again. What changed? She smiled faintly. You came back honest. Ethan looked at her carefully. Thank you for not giving up on me. Thank you for finally trusting me. He nodded slowly. Then she laughed suddenly. What? You know what's funny? What? You were so busy testing whether I loved you. And you never realized I was testing you too. Ethan blinked. What? I wanted to see if you were kind when nobody was watching. And you passed eventually. He laughed loudly. That's terrifying. Now you know how I felt. They sat together smiling quietly. And somewhere deep inside, Ethan finally understood what his mother meant all those years ago. The richest thing a person could ever have was not money. It was someone who stayed when pretending became unnecessary. Before you leave, don't forget to subscribe, like the video, and comment your favorite moment from the story below. Would you forgive someone like Ethan after a lie like that? Until next time, remember that genuine love is built on truth, not fear.